What's up guys, Houndish here, and today the March update 1.1.4, finally goes live in Destiny 2. And of course this one brings a whole lot of changes to the game. We've got quality of life fixes, a host of crucible fixes and weapon changes. We have all of the numbers for the buffs and everything like that, which I can break down in this video, and some of the new content that you'll find inside of this update. So this is going to be a bit of a long one. So diving straight into the patch notes, we have the strikes. Nightfall strike unique rewards have now been added to the game, and listed here we have possible rewards including legendary weapons and exotic accessories. Drop rates increase in likelihood based on score thresholds. So just a quick note there, legendary weapons are what we'll find inside of the strikes, as well as exotic accessories, which I would assume would be things like ghosts, ships and sparrows potentially, maybe even ornaments and stuff like that. And the drop rates will improve, or the likelihood of a drop will be increased based on your score threshold. So higher score means better chance at the drop. On top of this, there is strike repetition reduction. Players will no longer see the same strikes back to back in strike playlists. The challenge card has been adjusted to increase the power handicap maximum from 40 to 45. There's fixes for the tree of probabilities and the garden world boss fights, and fixes for an issue where vehicles were not rewarding points when destroyed, and where orbs granted in public areas would give you points. Next though, we have exotic repetition reduction, so you should no longer receive duplicate exotics from exotic engrams. I believe that milestones are still capable of producing duplicates. They fixed an issue where some emblems were not tracking the statistic they had. Prometheus Lens now correctly appears in the exotic weapon collection for all players. Reduced interaction time for patrol beacons from 3 seconds to 1 second, and fixed an issue where applying or previewing shaders on an item would return players to the top page of the shader inventory, so that annoying bug is now fixed. So that's the content and quality of life stuff. Now we get on to the weapons, and we have all of the numbers for all of the buffs and stuff like that. So for pulse rifles, we see increased PvE damage for all pulses by 16%, that is across the board. Increased rate of fire for adaptive and high impact pulses, adaptive from 360 RPM to 390 RPM, which is 8.3 rate of fire increase, and the high impact pulses from 320 to 340 RPM, which is 6.3%. They've also increased base damage for adaptive, high impact and rapid fire pulses. So base damage for adaptive pulses increased by 10.3%, high impact by 12.5%, and rapid fire frame by 4.2%. All of these will affect, all of the game, PvE and PvP. Lightweight pulses have a 6.7% buff for the precision multiplier. Adaptive pulses have been decreased by -5.8, and this is to keep precision damage close to where it is now when you factor in the base damage and rate of fire buffs above. For scout rifles in PvE, all scout rifles have had a damage buff of 15%, and they've increased the base damage for high impact scouts by 8.1%. Hand cannons have increased PvE damage across the board by 15%. Precision hand cannons have had a 6.6% precision damage buff, and there is increased hipfire accuracy on console and PC by 33%, with increased ADS accuracy using controllers on console and PC by 25%. So a 25% ADS accuracy buff for hand cannons, that is going to be pretty interesting to try out. For sidearms, we have increased PvE damage by 15%, increased hipfire accuracy, reduced cone by 20%, increased ADS accuracy, reduced cone by 12%, and increased inventory, allowing more reserve ammo to be stored. There is an increased range fall off, which is starting by +1 meter, and increased ADS movement speed. So basically the damage will start to drop off from sidearms, a little bit sooner than it did before, but along with the PvE buff and then these accuracy buffs, I think they're going to be pretty mean in the Crucible. For submachine guns though, increased PvE damage by 10%. They've set the optics to 1.3 times, so there will be slightly more zoom, which will affect everything, but the inventory has been increased. Linear fusions increased PvE damage by 50%. That is a very significant buff. That's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. They've also increased the aim assist and decreased the flinch multiplier. That has the potential right there to be a pretty huge buff. For shotguns though, increased PvE damage by 35%, that's very good. Increased inventory for more ammo, and increased aim assist on Soros precision shotguns. And then for sniper rifles, we have increased damage for PvE, 20% for yellow bars, 40% for red bars, increased precision damage, which now scales with the weapon's rate of fire, changed from 2.5 times for everything to 3 times at the lowest rate of fire, up to 3.5 times at the highest rate of fire. As well as this, increased aim assist and increased inventory once again. So hopefully in PvE, snipers are going to feel much better, and there is that precision damage increase right there, which might mean, you can get more reliable one-hit kills on people in supers and stuff like that in the Crucible. For grenade launchers though, we have an increase to blast radius. So for drum-fed grenade launchers, that's 0.5 meters, and for one-shot shot launchers, it is 1 meter. So a little bit of a buff right there for the launchers. The Mitre Minotaur's optics have been decreased to match the other submachine guns. This is to do with the optics change, prevented the stacking of lightweight and the Mitre Minotaur's lightweight perks, and adjusted player movement speed to match the Mitre multi-tool. Then we have auto rifles, so decreased range by 10 points for precision auto rifles and decreased aim assist for all precision auto rifles. So that's the 450 RPM class, Uriel's gift and things like that. But now we have a list of the damage changes and the timer changes for a bunch of perks. So they've scaled up the PvE damage for high impact reserves, and this is a 16% increase, kill clip by 15%, and for rampage from 1.33 times at 3 stacks to 1.65 times while at 3 stacks. And they've also increased the duration from 3 seconds to 3.5 seconds. Dragonfly has had its damage buffed by 30%, and on top of this there is a 30% additional damage against combatants. They've also updated the effect, so it should be more visually obvious when Dragonfly goes off. Explosive rounds has had decreased PvE damage by 15% and increased PvE damage for base weapons to compensate for this decrease. So of course, you know, we've got buffs to scout rifles, hand cannons. They've essentially reduced the damage of explosive rounds so that those weapons don't become just completely ridiculous. Grave Robber will now reload 50% of the magazine instead of 30, which is definitely good. Timed payload will split damage 55-45, explosive direct instead of the previous split, which was more direct damage. So now we have ability changes, increased super regen rates from 6 minutes 40 seconds to 5 minutes. The output of every increment of the mobility stat from 2 to 10 has been increased, allowing for a significant boost in player speed, so that stat will be more influential. For the hunters, Vanishing Step, invisibility on dodging, and Vanish in Smoke. Dodging remains unchanged and still breaks aim assist and projectile tracking for the duration of the actual dodge. The invisibility granted by Vanishing Step no longer breaks aim assist or projectile tracking in PvP, that is unchanged in PvE. They've also increased the duration of invisibility granted by 1 second, and the duration of Smoke Bomb invisibility by 1 second. They've increased the movement speed of melee supers, so Fist of Havoc, Sentinel Shield, and Arc Staff. While these supers are active, sprint speed is automatically set to the fastest possible speed. Characters automatically sprint when you request forward movement, and increased movement acceleration to reach max speed almost instantly. So we're getting into the more technical ability and class changes right here. For the Titan, they've increased the distance the player travels with an untargeted airborne shoulder charge back to 4.5 meters, so they've just undone the shoulder charge change. Strafe Lift has seen an increase in top speed. Catapult Lift has seen an increase in the initial horizontal acceleration gained from activating the lift, and increased the amount of time that Catapult Lift can be active to allow for more control. So these are, you know, the glide buffs and stuff like that. The Hunter's Arc Staff has had the speed of the Arc Staff dodge animation increased, as well as the speed of all Arc Staff attack animations. For Arc Staff Supercast animation and all Arc Staff melee attacks, they've reduced the amount of time you're locked into the animation before you can move or attack. They've also increased the AoE range of all Arc Staff attacks, so this should be a pretty nice buff for that super, hopefully. Quite a lot here for the Warlock. So for the glides, they've increased the initial extension of the vertical speed gained from activating glide to allow for quick on-demand bursts of speed. So basically that initial burst, you know, they've increased that. They've increased this top speed of Strafe Glide, greatly increased the horizontal acceleration of Strafe Glide, so this is going to allow for more in-air maneuverability. They've increased Strafe Glide's max height to match the other vertical movements. They've increased the top speed of Burst Glide, which will be higher than the Strafe Glide. They've recalibrated the Balance Glide to gain some of the added speed of the Burst Glide and some of the added horizontal acceleration of the Strafe. The intent is for Balance Glide to have some of the properties of both without being as potent as either version. For the Dawnblade, they've decreased the cost of throwing sword projectiles with a Daybreak Super, allowing for an additional throw. That's definitely good. Increased the super duration extension gained from the Everlasting Flames by 20%. The buff granted by the Swift Strike melee ability now removes all in-air accuracy penalties while active, so that's going to be very interesting. They've decreased the Icarus Dash cooldown from 10 seconds to 6 seconds, and the grenade and melee energy that Heat Rises gives you per kill from 10% to 16%. As well as this, they have fixed the infinite Nova Bomb glitch in Mayhem. So I think Dawnblade and Warlocks in general, I think they've got some potential to really go off, especially in the Crucible. Quick reminder, mods that affect ability regen rates, grenades, melee, or class abilities have been increased with their output, so 16.667% per mod, and they still cap at 3 mods, so you can get a 50% regen rate. So those mods should be pretty influential now and will probably be a top choice for a lot of players. And now we get into the Crucible specific changes. So there is a featured playlist. Each week will rotate debate among Rumble, Mayhem, and Iron Banner. The repetition reduction for the maps has come into play, so we shouldn't see the same map over and over again. Quitter penalties, incomplete matches in competitive Crucible playlists will now result in a warning or a temporary 30-minute suspension from competitive and Osiris competitive playlists. Quick reminder that quitter penalties do not affect Trials of the Nine. They've also added some more physics and kill volumes to different maps to keep players inside of intended playable areas. So basically some bug fixes for, out of the map kind of things. Iron Banner now features 6v6. The time limit for games is 12 minutes. The score limit is 125 points. Respawn time is 7 seconds. All control zones start off neutral. Additional Guardians up to a maximum of 3 in a zone increases the capture speed. Emperor's Respite has been removed from the Iron Banner control playlist, so that actually won't come up. For power ammo, the recurring side crate respawn times have been reduced from 90 seconds to 45 seconds. Initial side crate respawns have been reduced from 90 to 30 seconds. So there's going to be quite a bit of heavy ammo. Quick play game modes, Clash, Control, and Supremacy have had their match length extended to 10 minutes with some score limits adjusted. And for all modes, increased assist and kill credit time from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Increased super energy granted to players for both kills and assists. Players defeated while carrying power ammo lose all of their power ammo and drop 50% of it on the ground as a brick. The brick is visible to all players. Anyone can pick it up. The brick expires after 30 seconds. And the brick requires a full 0.25 second interaction instead of a passive walkover, so you actually, hold X to pick it up or whatever. And this interaction can be interrupted if the player takes damage. For more quick play changes, the extended timer to 10 minutes with score limits adjustments. We've got respawn time for all quick play modes down from 5 seconds to 2 seconds. Heavy ammo crate respawn times reduced from 90 to 60 seconds. Neutral crates for Clash and Supremacy are unchanged. And the player super display has been removed from the HUD, but players can still access this information in the death screen and while in navigation mode when the ghost is out. The super display will remain unchanged in competitive. Then in control, we also have the 90 to 30 second power ammo respawn time changed, and they changed the amount of super energy players get for capturing zones. So players on the capturing team get slightly less than before. Players participating in the capture itself get 2 times that amount. Then for Clash and Supremacy, the power ammo respawn times from the side crates have been reduced from 90 to 60 seconds. But in competitive, including Trials of the Nine, the tracker is now turned off. This is to enable more flanking and an expression of individual power. There's definitely going to be a lot of feedback about that one. They've reduced the recurring neutral crate respawns from 75 seconds to 45 seconds in survival and reduced the respawn time to 7 seconds. For Countdown, they've reduced the crate respawns from 60 to 45 seconds. They've lowered the revive lockout time from 20 to 7 seconds. That's quite a big change. Players no longer lose revived tokens on death. So that is nearly all of it, guys. We have just a couple more things, and this is about power ammo crates and how much ammo you will actually take on different types of weapons. So for rockets, you'll take 1 rocket now, where previously you'd get 2. Drum-fed grenade launcher stays at 4 grenades. Single-shot launchers now have 6 grenades, which may be capped by a weapon inventory size. It was previously 4 grenades. Snipers have 6 shots. This used to be variable, 2 mags capped at 6. Shotguns now have 5 shots. Used to be 2 mags capped at 4. Slug shotguns will now hold 6 shots. Fusion rifles now hold 5 bursts. The Warcliffe coil will stay at 1 volley. Swords will now have 6 swings. Linear fusion rifles with 4 shots. The Prospector will carry 8 grenades from 1 pickup, which is pretty crazy. Legend of Acrius at 4 shots. Tractor Cannon now holds 6 shots, which is cool. The Colony stays at 4 shots. Darcy will hold 8 shots, and Borealis will also hold 8 shots. Bear in mind, that is if you take power ammo from a crate, not if you pick it up off the floor, because there's always going to be, a percentage of what another player was carrying. So those are all of the changes inside of the March 27th update patch notes, guys. This is a very significant update in terms of change to the sandbox. Of course, there are other things that players want to see adjusted and changed moving forward. We're going to be hearing a lot about DLC over the next few weeks. So hopefully there's going to be some cool stuff inside of that expansion, and also we'll get a whole bunch of other changes coming in May, including ranks play for Crucible and a big exotic rework on top of the new content that we get. So let me know your thoughts on these patch notes, guys. Let me know if any of the stuff stands out to you. If you have enjoyed the video though, a like is very much appreciated. I aim to keep you guys up to date with everything I can to do with this update. So if you are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I appreciate you watching, and I will catch you guys very soon.